your life. These words are not here to entertain you. They are here to train you, because the life you are living right now is a reflection of what you repeatedly tell yourself when no one is listening. Your mind is listening. Your body is listening. Your future is listening. Every morning, before the world places its weight on your shoulders, you have a choice. You can allow old thoughts to wake up first, or you can decide who you are going to be today. Most people let the mind run on yesterday's fears, yesterday's failures, yesterday's limits. Then they wonder why nothing changes. Change does not begin with circumstances. It begins with inner instruction. You must understand this clearly. Affirmations are not wishes. They are commands. What you repeat is what you reinforce. What you reinforce becomes belief. What you believe shapes your actions. And your actions build your life. There is no gap in this chain. Every thought matters. When you say, I am disciplined, you are not pretending. You are reminding yourself of the standard you live by. When you say, I stay calm under pressure, you are training your nervous system before pressure arrives. When you say, I act even when it's uncomfortable, you are separating yourself from the version of you that waits, hesitates, and doubts. Your mind does not need motivation. It needs direction. Without direction, it seeks comfort. Comfort creates stagnation. Direction creates growth. Each affirmation you repeat is a direction given to your inner world. Say it slowly. Say it deliberately. I am focused. I am consistent. I finish what I start. I do not quit when it gets difficult. I learn from every setback. I trust the process I commit to. I grow stronger every day through discipline. Do not rush these words. Let them land. Let them replace the noise that has been running your life without permission. You have repeated negative thoughts for years without questioning them. You repeated doubt until it felt like truth. You repeated fear until it felt like protection. Now you repeat strength until it becomes identity. Your past does not define you unless you keep repeating it. Your future is not decided unless you stop deciding daily. Every time you return to these words, you are choosing to build rather than drift. Understand this: success is not confidence first, action later. Action comes first. Confidence follows. These affirmations prepare you to act before you feel ready. They train you to move while the mind is still negotiating. Say it again. I take responsibility for my life. I control my response. I choose progress over excuses. I am patient, persistent, and relentless. I do the work even when no one sees it. Your environment will not always support you. Your emotions will not always cooperate. That is why your inner voice must be stronger than your mood. On the days you feel tired, repeat anyway. On the days you doubt yourself, repeat anyway, especially then. This is how mental strength is built, not in moments of inspiration, but in moments of resistance. Each repetition is a vote for the person you are becoming. You are not here to live on autopilot. You are here to be deliberate. You are here to build something solid inside yourself that no chaos can take away. Say it clearly. I am becoming better every day. I stay calm and focused. I trust myself. I move forward step by step. I am aligned with success because my habits match my goals. Watch this every day, not because it feels good, but because it works. One day, you will realize your thoughts are quieter, your actions are sharper, and your life feels more stable. not because luck arrived, but because you trained your mind to support you instead of sabotage you. Repeat, commit, act. This is how lives change. Your mind is a tool. If you do not train it, it will control you. This truth is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. A tool left unattended does not remain neutral. It rusts, it dulls, it becomes dangerous in unskilled hands. The mind works the same way. Every thought you allow to repeat becomes a habit, and every habit quietly shapes the direction of your life. Most people believe they are living consciously, but in reality they are reacting. They wake up already exhausted, not from work, but from unmanaged thinking, anxiety, doubt, comparison, regret. These are not random visitors. They are the result of a mind that has never been given clear instruction. The mind was designed to serve, not to lead. When it leads, it seeks comfort, safety, and shortcuts. It avoids discomfort, even when discomfort is necessary for growth. This is why untrained minds resist discipline, delay important decisions, and cling to familiar pain rather than unfamiliar progress. The mind will always choose what feels easy now over what is beneficial later. Without training, it will convince you that tomorrow is a better time, that you are not ready, that conditions must be perfect before you act. Slowly, life becomes a series of postponed intentions. Training the mind does not mean silencing it. It means directing it. Just as a horse must be guided or it will wander, the mind must be given a path. Focus is not natural, it is developed. Calm is not a personality trait, it is practiced. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is earned through repeated proof to yourself that you can act despite discomfort. When you train your mind, you teach it how to respond rather than react, how to observe emotion without being hijacked by it, how to stay steady when circumstances attempt to pull it apart. An untrained mind identifies with every thought. It believes everything it hears internally. If a thought says, "You are not good enough," it accepts it as truth. If it says, "You will fail," it retreats before even trying. Training creates distance. You begin to see thoughts as signals, not commands. You notice fear without obeying it. You feel resistance without surrendering to it. This space between impulse and action is where power lives. Without it, you are controlled by whatever emotion appears most loudly in the moment. Discipline is the language the mind understands. Not punishment, not harshness, but structure. When you wake up at the same time, when you move your body despite resistance, when you choose silence over constant stimulation, you are teaching the mind that it does not dictate terms. At first, it will resist. It will create excuses, distractions, and emotional discomfort. This is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that training has begun. A mind that has ruled freely does not surrender quietly. Most suffering is not caused by events, but by interpretation. Two people can face the same difficulty. One grows stronger, the other collapses. The difference is not circumstance, but mental conditioning. A trained mind looks for responsibility, lessons, and action. An untrained mind looks for blame, escape, and validation. The mind will always seek patterns, and if you feed it negativity, it will learn to expect and create it. If you feed it clarity, it will learn to organize chaos into direction. Training the mind requires repetition, not intensity. One moment of inspiration does nothing if it is not followed by daily practice. Just as muscles grow through consistent tension, The mind grows through consistent awareness. Each time you return your attention to the present, each time you interrupt a negative spiral, each time you choose effort over ease, you reinforce a new standard. Slowly, what once required force becomes natural. Calm becomes familiar. Discipline becomes identity. Without training, the mind becomes a battlefield. Past regrets fight future fears while the present moment is ignored. This creates constant mental noise, leaving no space for clarity or peace. A trained mind learns to rest in the present, not because the past and future disappear, but because they are no longer allowed to dominate. Attention becomes intentional. Energy stops leaking into unnecessary worry. Life becomes simpler, not because it is easier, but because it is approached with order. The greatest danger of an untrained mind is not failure, but unconscious living. Years pass, routines repeat, and one day you realize you have been busy without being purposeful. Training the mind awakens choice. You begin to see where you are acting out of habit rather than values. You notice how often comfort has replaced growth. This awareness can be painful, but it is also liberating. You cannot change what you refuse to see. A trained mind does not guarantee success, but it guarantees direction. It allows you to stand firm when results are slow and pressure is high. It teaches patience without passivity and action without chaos. When the mind is trained, it becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. It supports your goals instead of sabotaging them. It sharpens focus instead of scattering it. And slowly, through daily attention and deliberate practice, you begin to experience what it means to truly be in control of your actions, your reactions, your habits, your path, and the quiet decisions that shape who you become every single day while the world remains the same and the inner world grows stronger through awareness rather than impulse. What you repeat internally becomes what you live externally. This is not a metaphor or a motivational phrase. It is a description of how the mind conditions reality. Every repeated thought carves a mental pathway, and those pathways determine how you interpret situations, how you react under pressure, and what actions you are willing to take. Long before a behavior becomes visible, it exists as repetition in the mind. Your external life is the echo of your inner dialogue, amplified over time through consistency. Most people believe life happens to them, unaware that they are quietly rehearsing the very outcomes they claim to fear. When doubt is repeated, hesitation becomes automatic. When criticism becomes habitual, confidence erodes without resistance. The mind does not distinguish between truth and familiarity. It accepts whatever is repeated most often. This is why negative self-talk is so destructive. It is not dramatic in a single moment, but it becomes powerful through accumulation. Each repetition strengthens the lens through which you see yourself and the world. The body listens to the mind even when you are not paying attention. A mind that constantly anticipates failure tightens the body, restricts breathing, and limits movement. A mind that repeats scarcity approaches opportunities defensively and misses possibility. Over time, posture, tone, and presence begin to reflect internal belief. This is how inner repetition becomes outer reality, not through magic, but through alignment. Thoughts influence emotions, emotions guide actions, and actions shape outcomes. Repetition creates identity. What you tell yourself daily becomes the story you live inside. If the story is one of limitation, life will feel narrow. If the story is one of growth, life expands in proportion to your willingness to engage. This is not about blind positivity. It is about responsibility. You are responsible for the narratives you reinforce. Even silence is a form of repetition when it allows old patterns to continue unchecked. Many people try to change their external circumstances without addressing the internal script running in the background. They chase new environments, relationships, or achievements only to recreate the same patterns in different forms. The reason is simple: the mind carried the repetition with it. Until the inner dialogue changes, the outer experience rearranges itself to match what feels familiar. Comfort does not come from happiness. It comes from consistency. Internal repetition also determines what you notice. The mind filters reality based on expectation. If you repeat that the world is hostile, you will see threat everywhere. If you repeat that effort leads to improvement, you will notice opportunities to practice. Reality has many layers, but you only experience the layer you are trained to see. This is why two people can live in the same conditions and experience entirely different lives. Training internal repetition requires awareness before change. You cannot replace a pattern you have not observed. The first step is noticing what you repeat when things go wrong, when you are tired, when no one is watching. These moments reveal the default programming. Do you encourage or insult yourself? Do you focus on solutions or dwell on obstacles? The mind speaks most honestly when it is unguarded. Once awareness is established, repetition becomes a tool rather than a trap. Intentional phrases, when repeated daily, reshape perception, not because they are affirmations in the motivational sense, but because they introduce new instructions. Saying, "I act despite fear," does not deny fear, it reframes the relationship with it. Saying, "I improve through effort," directs attention toward process rather than outcome. Over time, these repetitions create a different internal climate, one where action feels possible and resilience becomes normal. Consistency matters more than emotion. Repeating a grounded truth on a difficult day is more powerful than repeating it enthusiastically on a good one. The mind learns through exposure, not excitement. Just as water shapes stone through persistence, internal dialogue reshapes behavior through frequency. Small, steady repetitions quietly dismantle long-standing limitations. What you repeat internally also affects how you treat others. A mind filled with judgment projects it outward. A mind trained in patience expresses it naturally. Relationships often mirror inner states. Conflict arises not only from external disagreement, but from unresolved internal tension. As internal repetition becomes calmer and more deliberate, interactions become clearer and less reactive. The danger of unconscious repetition is that it feels normal. Patterns repeated for years become invisible. This is why change initially feels unnatural. The new repetition clashes with the old identity. The mind resists not because the new pattern is wrong, but because it is unfamiliar. Staying consistent through this resistance is the threshold where transformation begins. Your external life is not shaped by what you think occasionally, but by what you repeat relentlessly. Every quiet sentence you say to yourself is a vote for the person you are becoming. Over days, months, and years, These votes accumulate into habits, habits into character, and character into destiny. When internal repetition is aligned with growth, the external world gradually reorganizes itself to reflect clarity, direction, and steadiness. What once felt out of reach begins to feel inevitable, not because the world changed, but because the voice inside you did. Discipline in thought creates freedom in action. This idea appears simple, yet it is deeply misunderstood. Many people associate discipline with restriction, rigidity, or loss of pleasure, believing that freedom comes from doing whatever they feel in the moment. In reality, the opposite is true. A mind without discipline is easily distracted, emotionally reactive, and constantly pulled in different directions. Such a mind feels busy, but not free. True freedom is not the absence of structure, it is the presence of inner order. Thoughts are the starting point of all action. Before anything is done in the physical world, it is rehearsed internally. When thoughts are scattered, actions become hesitant. When thoughts are emotional and uncontrolled, actions become impulsive. This creates a life that feels chaotic, where effort does not lead to progress and movement does not lead to direction. Discipline in thought brings clarity. It decides what deserves attention and what does not. With clarity, action becomes clean and purposeful instead of forced and exhausting. An undisciplined mind reacts to every stimulus. A comment, a memory, a fear, a comparison can instantly change mood and behavior. This constant reactivity creates the illusion of choice. But in truth, the person is being controlled by whatever thought appears strongest in the moment. Discipline interrupts this pattern. It creates space between thought and response. In that space, choice becomes possible. Freedom is born not from doing more, but from reacting less. Mental discipline does not mean suppressing thoughts or emotions. It means observing them without immediately obeying them. Fear can exist without stopping action. Doubt can appear without becoming a verdict. When the mind is trained, emotions are experienced, but not allowed to dictate behavior. This allows action to remain steady even when conditions are unstable. A disciplined mind moves forward regardless of internal weather. Without discipline in thought, motivation is required for every action. This is exhausting. Motivation rises and falls, making consistency impossible. With disciplined thinking, action no longer depends on mood. You act because you decided to act, not because you feel inspired. This removes internal negotiation and saves energy. What once felt heavy becomes simple. This simplicity feels like freedom because effort is no longer wasted on inner resistance. Freedom in action means the ability to act effectively when it matters most. In moments of pressure, stress, or uncertainty, an undisciplined mind panics or freezes. It imagines worst-case scenarios and magnifies risk. A disciplined mind returns to fundamentals. It focuses on what can be done now. This ability to remain present and practical under pressure is a form of freedom few experience, yet many seek. Discipline in thought also frees you from the past. Regret and resentment survive through repetition. The mind revisits old moments, rewriting them endlessly without resolution. This drains energy from the present. A disciplined mind recognizes when reflection becomes rumination and redirects attention. It learns from the past without living in it. This allows action to happen now, instead of being delayed by what cannot be changed. The same discipline frees you from the future. Anxiety is the habit of rehearsing problems that do not yet exist. An undisciplined mind treats imagination as reality, creating fear without evidence. Discipline teaches the mind to plan without panicking, to prepare without catastrophizing. This grounded approach allows action to be taken calmly and steadily. When the future no longer dominates the mind, the present becomes usable. Many people avoid discipline because they believe it limits creativity or spontaneity. In truth, discipline provides the foundation that makes creativity sustainable. A chaotic mind may have flashes of inspiration, but lacks the structure to execute them. A disciplined mind can channel creativity into form. Freedom in action is not random movement. It is movement with direction. Mental discipline is built through small, repeated choices. Choosing focus over distraction. Choosing observation over reaction. Choosing silence over unnecessary noise. These choices may seem insignificant, but they compound. Over time, the mind becomes quieter, sharper, and more reliable. When the mind becomes reliable, action becomes effortless. You no longer fight yourself to begin. You simply begin. The greatest freedom is self-trust. When your thoughts are disciplined, you trust your decisions. You are not constantly second, guessing or seeking reassurance. This confidence is not arrogance, it is stability. It allows you to act decisively without being reckless. Decisive action saves time, energy, and emotional strain. Life feels lighter, not because it is easier, but because there is less inner conflict. Without discipline in thought, freedom becomes destructive. Too many options, too many impulses, too many distractions pull attention apart. The result is unfinished goals and wasted potential. Discipline narrows focus, and in doing so, expands capability. When attention is concentrated, action gains power. This is the paradox. Limitation in thought creates expansion in results. Discipline is not something imposed from outside. It is a relationship with your own mind. It is the daily decision to guide it rather than be dragged by it. Over time, this guidance becomes natural. You stop forcing yourself and start trusting yourself. Action flows because resistance has been removed at the source. When thought is disciplined, action becomes free because it is no longer burdened by hesitation, fear, or confusion. Movement aligns with intention. Effort produces progress. The mind becomes a support rather than an obstacle, allowing you to act with clarity, consistency, and calm strength in every situation where others feel trapped by their own thoughts. Stillness before reaction is the birthplace of power. This idea challenges the way most people live because modern life rewards speed, immediacy, and constant response. From a young age, people are conditioned to react quickly, to defend instantly, to answer without pause. Yet reaction is rarely a sign of strength. More often, it is evidence of being controlled. Power does not arise from how fast you respond, but from whether you choose your response at all. Reaction is automatic. It is driven by emotion, memory, ego, and fear. When someone speaks harshly, the body tightens before the mind understands. When something goes wrong, frustration appears before clarity has a chance. This automatic response feels natural, but it is not intentional. Stillness interrupts this chain. It creates a pause, however brief, where awareness enters. In that pause, you are no longer a prisoner of impulse. Stillness is not weakness. It is restraint. It is the ability to hold energy without releasing it prematurely. Just as a drawn bow is more powerful than a loose one, a composed mind holds potential. When you react immediately, you spend that potential without direction. When you remain still, you decide where to aim it. This decision is where power is born. Most mistakes are not caused by lack of ability, but by lack of pause. Words spoken in anger, decisions made in fear, actions taken to protect pride rather than truth often create consequences far greater than the original trigger. Stillness prevents unnecessary damage. It allows you to see the situation as it is, not as your emotion paints it. This clarity changes everything. Stillness before reaction does not mean suppression. It does not mean pretending you feel nothing. Emotion is information, but information does not require immediate action. When you allow yourself to feel without reacting, emotion loses its grip. It rises, peaks, and falls. What remains is choice, the ability to act from understanding rather than compulsion. In moments of conflict, stillness shifts the balance of power. When one person reacts emotionally and the other remains composed, control changes hands. The calm presence dictates the pace, the tone, and often the outcome. This is why leaders, warriors, and strategists throughout history trained stillness above all else. Not because they lacked emotion, but because they refused to be ruled by it. Stillness also protects energy. Reaction drains it. Constantly responding to every stimulus exhausts the mind and body. The nervous system remains in a state of alert, unable to recover. Over time, this leads to burnout, irritability, and confusion. Stillness allows recovery even in motion. It teaches the system that not every signal is an emergency. Energy is preserved for what truly matters. The practice of stillness begins internally. It starts with noticing the urge to react, the tightening chest, the racing thoughts, the impulse to speak or move. Instead of following it, you pause. You breathe. You allow the moment to exist without interference. This may feel uncomfortable at first. The mind will demand expression. But each time you hold still, you strengthen control. Stillness sharpens perception. When the noise of reaction quiets, details emerge. You notice intention behind words, patterns behind behavior, opportunities behind obstacles. What once felt threatening becomes understandable. What once felt personal becomes contextual. This broader perspective leads to better decisions and more effective action. Power is not loud. It does not rush to prove itself. It waits, observes, and acts precisely. Stillness cultivates this quality. It teaches patience without passivity. You are not inactive. You are prepared. You are not frozen. You are centered. From this state, action carries weight. When you finally move or speak, it matters. Stillness also builds self-trust. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you prove to yourself that you are capable of control. This confidence grows quietly. You no longer fear your own emotions because you know they do not own you. This inner stability becomes a foundation that supports you in chaos. Many people fear stillness because it removes distraction. In silence, unresolved thoughts and emotions surface. This can feel uncomfortable, but avoidance only strengthens them. Stillness allows these inner tensions to be seen and released. Over time, the mind becomes less reactive because there is less internal conflict demanding expression. In a world addicted to reaction, stillness is a rare skill. It gives you an advantage others do not have. While they rush, you see. While they argue, You understand. While they exhaust themselves, you conserve strength. This is not superiority, it is discipline. Stillness before reaction does not delay life. It refines it. It transforms chaos into clarity and emotion into insight. Action taken from stillness is aligned, efficient, and grounded. It carries the force of intention rather than the weight of impulse. Power does not come from dominating others or controlling outcomes. It comes from mastery over the self. The moment you choose stillness over reaction, you reclaim that mastery. In that quiet space, you are no longer driven by habit or emotion. You are present, aware, and capable of choosing the response that serves growth rather than regret, clarity rather than confusion, and strength rather than noise. Consistency, not intensity, reshapes destiny. This truth is often ignored because intensity feels powerful in the moment. It is dramatic, emotional, and visible. Intensity convinces you that change is happening simply because effort feels extreme. But intensity is unstable. It depends on mood, motivation, and circumstance. When those fluctuate, intensity fades, and with it, progress disappears. Consistency, on the other hand, is quiet. It does not announce itself. It works slowly, patiently, and relentlessly, shaping outcomes over time without demanding attention. Most people wait for intense motivation before they begin. They wait to feel inspired, confident, or ready. This waiting becomes a habit, and life passes in preparation rather than action. Consistency removes the need for emotional readiness. It is the decision to act regardless of how you feel. When action becomes routine instead of emotional, progress becomes inevitable. Destiny is not changed in moments of excitement, but in moments of repetition. Intensity often leads to burnout. When you push too hard, too fast, the body resists, the mind rebels, and exhaustion follows. What begins with enthusiasm ends with avoidance. Consistency respects limits. It understands that growth is not about how much you can do once, but how much you can return to repeatedly. Small actions done daily compound into results that intense effort can never sustain. The mind learns through repetition. A single intense experience may inspire, but it does not rewire behavior. Consistency teaches the mind what is normal. When effort becomes normal, resistance decreases. What once felt difficult becomes automatic. This is how discipline is built, not through force, but through familiarity. Destiny changes when new behaviors become part of identity rather than temporary challenges. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Each time you keep a small promise, self-respect grows. Each time you follow through, confidence deepens. Intensity often makes big promises it cannot keep, damaging self-belief. Consistency makes modest promises and fulfills them. Over time, this creates a strong internal foundation. You begin to trust that you will act even when conditions are imperfect. In relationships, consistency matters more than grand gestures. Presence, honesty, and reliability create security. Intense moments may impress, but they cannot replace steady care. The same principle applies to skills, health, and personal growth. A few intense workouts do not create fitness. A few intense study sessions do not create mastery. It is the regular return to the practice that shapes ability. Consistency reshapes perception of time. Intensity focuses on immediate results, creating frustration when change is slow. Consistency understands delay. It allows patience to replace urgency. When you commit to showing up daily, You stop measuring progress emotionally and start trusting the process. This patience is not passive. It is disciplined endurance. Destiny is often imagined as a dramatic turning point, a single decision or breakthrough. In reality, destiny is built through daily choices, so small they feel insignificant. The food you eat, the thoughts you repeat, the habits you maintain, the effort you apply when no one is watching, these choices accumulate silently. Years later, the result feels sudden, but it was shaped gradually. Consistency also protects against failure. When effort is spread evenly, mistakes do not destroy momentum. Missing one day does not end the journey because the habit is stronger than the interruption. Intensity, however, makes failure feel catastrophic. When everything depends on extremes, one setback feels like defeat. Consistency absorbs disruption and continues forward. Many people underestimate how much can change in a year of consistent effort. They overestimate what can be done in a week and underestimate what can be achieved through daily discipline. This miscalculation keeps them trapped in cycles of starting and stopping. Consistency breaks this cycle by removing the need for constant restarting. You simply continue. Consistency requires humility. It accepts that growth is slow and invisible at first. It does not demand immediate validation. This humility allows focus to remain on the work rather than the outcome. Intensity seeks recognition. Consistency seeks alignment. Destiny favors alignment. When you act consistently, identity shifts. You stop trying to be disciplined and start being disciplined. You stop chasing confidence and start demonstrating it through behavior. This identity change is permanent. Intensity may create moments of transformation, but consistency creates a way of being. Consistency is also adaptable. It can adjust to circumstances without breaking. If energy is low, effort is reduced but not eliminated. If conditions change, the habit remains. Intensity collapses when conditions are not ideal. Consistency survives imperfection. Over time, consistency creates momentum. Actions stack upon each other, making future actions easier. This momentum feels like flow, but it was built deliberately. Destiny changes when effort compounds faster than doubt. The quiet power of consistency lies in its inevitability. If you show up long enough, results must follow. Skills improve. Strength increases. Understanding deepens. Opportunities appear. Not because of luck, but because preparation met time. Consistency does not promise excitement. It promises transformation. It asks for patience, discipline, and trust in process. In return, it offers something intensity never can: sustainable growth, stable confidence, and a life shaped deliberately rather than reactively. Destiny is not rewritten in moments of passion, but in the steady rhythm of daily commitment, repeated long after motivation fades. You do not chase success, you align with it. Chasing implies distance, lack, and desperation. It suggests that success is something outside of you, running away, forcing you to exhaust yourself in pursuit. Alignment is different. Alignment is quiet. It is internal. It begins with how you think, how you act, and how consistently your inner values match your outer behavior. Success is not something that responds to pressure. It responds to order. When people chase success, they focus on outcomes without understanding foundations. They look at results without studying the structure beneath them. This creates impatience. Impatience leads to shortcuts. Shortcuts weaken character, skill, and judgment. Even if success is reached this way, it cannot be sustained because the person has not become compatible with what they achieved. Alignment solves this by changing who you are before changing what you have. Success is attracted to certain qualities: discipline, clarity, reliability, resilience. These qualities cannot be rushed. They are cultivated through daily behavior. When your habits reflect these traits, success no longer feels distant. It feels natural. Opportunities begin to appear not because you are chasing them, but because you are prepared to recognize and handle them. Alignment creates readiness. Chasing success often comes from comparison. You see others ahead and assume you are behind. This creates anxiety and forces action without direction. Alignment removes comparison by shifting focus inward. The question changes from, how do I get there faster? To, am I becoming the kind of person who belongs there? This question leads to better decisions. You invest in skill instead of image. You value consistency over applause. You prioritize long-term growth over short-term validation. Alignment also demands honesty. You cannot align with success while lying to yourself. If your actions contradict your goals, no amount of motivation will help. Wanting progress while avoiding discomfort creates inner conflict. Alignment resolves this conflict by bringing intention and behavior into agreement. When what you say you want matches what you do daily, progress accelerates without force. Many people exhaust themselves trying to control outcomes. They obsess over results, timelines, and recognition. This obsession creates tension. Tension clouds judgment. Alignment shifts attention away from control and toward process. You focus on what you can influence: effort, preparation, attitude, consistency. When these are aligned, outcomes take care of themselves. Success is not summoned, it emerges. Alignment also changes your relationship with failure. When you chase success, failure feels personal and discouraging. When you align with success, failure becomes information. It shows where alignment is incomplete. This perspective removes fear. You are no longer trying to protect an image. You are refining a process. Growth becomes continuous instead of emotional. Success requires energy, but chasing wastes it. You burn energy on worry, comparison, and urgency. Alignment conserves energy by eliminating unnecessary friction. Decisions become simpler. You know what to say no to. You know what deserves attention. This clarity allows deeper focus and better execution. Over time, this focus compounds into mastery. Alignment also requires patience. You cannot rush alignment because it involves identity. Identity changes through repetition. Each disciplined choice reinforces who you are becoming. Each time you act in accordance with your values, alignment strengthens. This is invisible work, but it is decisive. When opportunity arrives, aligned individuals move calmly while others panic or hesitate. Success often appears sudden from the outside. People see results, but not the alignment that preceded them. They mistake preparation for luck. This misunderstanding leads many to chase appearances instead of substance. Alignment prioritizes substance. It builds the internal structure capable of holding success without collapsing under pressure. You cannot align with success while living in contradiction. If your goals require focus, but your habits promote distraction, misalignment exists. If your ambitions require discipline, but your routine favors comfort, misalignment exists. Recognizing this is not judgment, It is awareness. Awareness is the first correction. Alignment simplifies effort. You no longer need constant motivation because action flows from identity. You act because it is who you are, not because you are trying to become something. This shift is powerful. It removes inner resistance. Work feels purposeful instead of forced. Progress feels steady instead of chaotic. Success is not impressed by intensity. It responds to reliability. Showing up daily even when unexcited builds alignment. Honoring commitments, especially small ones, builds trust with yourself. This trust becomes confidence. Confidence is not loud, it is stable. Stability attracts responsibility, opportunity, and growth. Alignment also refines ambition. You stop chasing everything and start committing to what matters. This selectiveness is not limitation, it is strength. When effort is concentrated, results deepen. Success prefers depth over scattered energy. Ultimately, success is a mirror. It reflects who you have become, not what you desire. When your thoughts, habits, and actions are aligned with growth, success appears as a byproduct, not a prize. You do not need to run after it because you are already moving in the same direction. The path and the destination merge through discipline, clarity, and consistency, and success becomes less about arrival and more about the natural outcome of living in alignment with what you are building day by day through deliberate action and quiet commitment without urgency or fear guiding the process.